Hi everybody and welcome to Observing with Webb, where the armchair astronomer figures out what they're looking at, why it's so cool, and what they're going to check out next. This is August 2017, and I wanted to let you know that don't forget to check out my Podbean page and my YouTube channel and my Twitter feed, all at Mr. Webb PV. Also, you can get the podcast on Stitcher and iTunes now, which is fantastic. So, podcast. Also, you can sign up for my email, which comes out with every one of these, and you're checking out the video now. So anyway, talking about August, we have the most anticipated event, which is the total solar eclipse of 2017, which I'm not going to say anything about on this video. The reason is I want to devote a whole video to that, and otherwise, this video for the month will be very, 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 very long. So I'm going to skip that for now, but I will put something out about that very soon. But aside from the moon blocking the sun for 2.5 minutes, depending on where you live, August brings us our last looks at Jupiter, some good observing time of Saturn, as well as a morning Venus, as well as the annual Perseid meteor shower. So with no further ado, planets, then the events, and then the constellations.
Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn.
Planets. What can you see with your naked eye? All right, well, here we go. We're looking at the night sky, okay? If you take a look at, let's just say, sunset plus about an hour, on August 1st, you'll notice that Jupiter is off there in the southwest and Saturn is off in the south. Those are pretty good ones to see. Now, as far as Jupiter goes, it's pretty bright, but at sunset, just look west about 10 degrees above the horizon, and find the brightest point of light in that area. Make sure not to mistake it for, let's see, this is Spica. But yeah, it's out there. Now, in the beginning of the month, it'll set around 11 p.m., and at the end of the month, it'll set around 9 p.m. So this is your last chance to see the king of the planets, at least for a couple months. Now, Saturn's over here, and now what you're going to see is I'm going to fast forward time a little bit. In fact, let me get it to August 15th. You know, as Jupiter is a little bit lower. But Saturn, you look south after sunset, and you'll see it up there. It's right in between Scorpius and Sagittarius, which might be hard to see depending on light pollution. But let me fast forward time a little bit, and you notice that, Jupiter set, and Saturn's going to set as well. And Saturn's going to set in the southwest. In the beginning of the month, it'll be around 2 a.m., and at the end of the month, it'll be around midnight, which will be a good, well, it'll be midnight. Anyway. Moving on, can't really see Uranus and Neptune, but as you see, what we'll notice is that, ignore the moon for now. Oh, there's Venus coming up, a nice, beautiful planet that you can see. Ignore Ceres. But Venus is over there, and after 4 a.m., you can pretty much see it rise, and all throughout the month, it's going to be about 20 degrees above the horizon in the east in the morning. It's very bright, very brilliant, very good to see. I did not tell you about Mercury or Mars, because as you might be able to see here, as that gets really bright, they're really close to the sun from our perspective. And because of that, we're not really going to be able to see them because the sun drowns them out. But what you notice is, let's go back to August 1st, Mars is pretty much at the sun and Mercury is off there. Let me center there. And what you notice is throughout the month, Mars actually gets further away from the sun, and so does Mercury. And next month, we might be able to see them in the morning. All right. That's pretty much it for planets. Jupiter, Saturn, Venus. Get out.
And a bunch of other stuff. And a bunch of other stuff. And a bunch of other stuff.
So what's actually going on for the month? Well, let me reset to August 2nd, and let's go to sunset. You'll notice that there's a nice close encounter between the moon and Saturn, so I'm going to go to about 9 o'clock. Okay, you just look toward the south, okay, and you'll see the moon and Saturn up there in the sky. And even on the next night, the moon will be kind of close, but off to the left. You'll notice that they'll be up in the sky until about, what did I say? 2 a.m. is about when they set. Okay? Let's scroll back out a little bit, get a bigger perspective. You'll notice that as we go along, the moon gets a little lower in the sky, but a little bit fuller. And then on the 7th, actually, is when we have a nice full moon. It's visible the entire night. And technically, if you're on the other side of Earth compared to the United States, there is a partial eclipse. Probably not too exciting, especially if you're not living on that hemisphere, but it's there if you want to look it up. Now, let's move on to probably the coolest part about every August. Let's go to August 12th and 13th. Now, I don't know why I'm really showing this to you on here, but let's move to the northeast. That's what you want to do. You want to get out there and see the Perseid meteor shower on the 12th and 13th. Now, it's not a great year for the Perseids, because watch what happens. Here's where the radiant is, that spot where the meteors tend to come from. They sort of zoom out away from it. But watch what happens as I fast forward time. Oh, the moon comes up as well around midnight or a little bit before. Problem with that is the moon is actually going to put plenty of light pollution out into the sky and dim out or blow out some of those dimmer meteors. So it's not a great year for the Perseids, which actually brings me to this meme that's been going around that says that, oh, astronomers have confirmed that the greatest meteor shower in your lifetime is happening on August 12th, and it won't happen again for another 93 years. That would be awesome. Could it be? Yeah, there's a possibility, but no. There's a lot of bologna sandwiches in there, a lot of BS. And first of all, it does, depending on what version I'll look up later and post up here, it is a meteor shower. They did get the first line or two right, that astronomers confirmed that there's a meteor shower happening on August 12th. Problem is, there's no reason for us to think that it's going to be the best of a lifetime. In fact, if anything, last year they thought we might have some extra because of perturbations from Jupiter and the gravity and blah, blah, blah. But that didn't really happen from what I heard. Plus, I haven't seen anything about it. And, your bologna sandwich detector. 1, outrageous claim. 2, no real sources for that claim. Just astronomers. We're mysterious, but we don't mind being cited. And also, there was one more thing there. Outrageous claim, no sources. And they, of course, just keep going on and on and on about it, okay? But anyway, it's going to be cool. It's going to be good, but it's not going to be outrageous. So anyway, if you want to actually see this, here are some of my pieces of advice. Find a dark location. Make sure that you're looking up at the whole sky, maybe pointed a little more toward north. I would say the strategy this year is to go out about an hour after sunset once it's dark and look toward the north-ish and see what you can see. And go out until about midnight or until you fall asleep, because the moon's going to drown out some of the dimmer ones, but that's also the time when there should be more meteors. So just get out there and see what you can find. Make sure you check the weather first. And I do have some links for actually recording it and putting forth some information towards citizen science. So contributing, that's the word I was looking for. All right, so that is August 12th and 13th. You notice the moon kind of pops up, and then on the 14th, we've got the last quarter moon, which means the left half is lit up. You can see it from about midnight into the morning, especially if you're driving in the morning. And then, now let's take a look at this. Let's see what happens. Okay, now I want to go early in the morning when I can see Venus over here, okay? The moon's over here. Now what I'm going to do is fast forward time by 1 day, each press of the button. So 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th. The 18th and the 19th is a nice close encounter between the moon and Venus. Now what you're going to see is on the 18th, the moon's going to be up here above and to the right of Venus by about, 10 degrees. And then on the 19th, It's a very thin crescent moon, and it's going to be directly below Venus by about 4 degrees. This should be harder to see, but if you want to find Venus and the moon together, they're two pretty good road markers for you to look at. Okay? And, of course, you've got the total solar eclipse on August 21st. So, just real quick. All right, I'll give you a little preview of this, okay? Let me center there. Okay, what's happening is throughout the day, now look at the time up there, August 21st, and this is near me in Lancaster County. What's going to happen is the moon's going to start passing in front of the sun. It looks like it starts about 1:20. It keeps getting further and further and closer. It looks like maximum is right about 2:40 or so. Now, for Pennsylvania, you don't get the full thing, the full total eclipse, and then it's done about 4 o'clock. You'd have to go to South Carolina, which is where I'm going, and again, I'll show you more about that later. But that's what you can see real quick. Anyway, Google eclipse2017.org or eclipse2017.nasa.gov. Great sites for it. Okay, I'll come back to that at another date. Then we've got August 25th is another interesting day because you have a nice close encounter between the moon and Jupiter. So if you've been having trouble finding Jupiter, it's right here down and to the right of a nice crescent moon, which is easy to find. Plus over here you've got nice bright Spica right here that makes a beautiful triangle in the sky. And of course, if you were to actually watch the moon night after night, you'll see it gets bigger and thicker and higher in the sky until the 29th when we have a first quarter moon and it gets close to Saturn once again. You'll see that the moon is about 7 degrees away on the 29th, and then on the 30th it moves to the other side about 5 degrees to the left of Saturn. And this is a good one because you can see the moon, Saturn, and Antares down here making a nice line as well. So those are the events. Don't forget eclipse video coming up another day. And let's move on to the constellations.
Are there patterns in our skies? Are patterns only in our eyes?
All right, let's talk about some constellations. So let me go to August 15th, which would be an average night in August, I would say. And let's say sunset is about 8:30. Let's look at the zenith, the point that's perfectly straight above you. Let's go a little bit after that. What you're going to find is Hercules, this sort of keystone, not a rectangle, but a keystone. And the cool thing about Hercules is right up here is a Hercules cluster. Now, if you have just your naked eye, it's probably going to look something like this. You can just barely see that it's not quite a star. It's a little fuzzier. In binoculars, you should be able to make out something like this. Then with a telescope, you can see that it's one of the most beautiful globular clusters in the night sky. So that's a pretty good one to look for right there, Hercules. Also Corona Borealis. I need to switch the constellation lines here. It really looks like a C or a cup in the night sky to me. It's really beautiful. But now let's say you're looking out more toward midnight. Oh, look at that. You've got a beautiful set right here. Let me move that up a little bit. You've got Cygnus the Swan, Lyra the Harp, and Aquila the Eagle. These three constellations have three very bright stars that are in summer, which are Deneb in Cygnus, Vega in Lyra, and Altair in Aquila. And this triangle, even if you're in the city, you can see the summer triangle here, which is an asterism of three constellations' brightest stars. Also, I like Delphinus right over here, this little dolphin-looking constellation. Okay. And then, let's say you're getting up early in the morning. Look back at that zenith. Early in the morning, you can start seeing the Andromeda Galaxy, or Andromeda, in the Andromeda Galaxy, as well as Pegasus, the great square over here. And Andromeda, you might, if you have really good skies, you might be able to pick up just the faintest little fuzzy there. But with binoculars, you can see, well, it's not going to be that bright and colorful, but another fuzzy about that big, or in a telescope as well. So anyway, let's see. I already talked about the summer constellations. Ooh, spring constellations. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. Let's see. Spring constellations, they would be happening a little bit after sunset. And for those, you have to look more toward the west. Okay? Real quick, this is your last chance, really. So find the Big Dipper and take that handle of the Big Dipper. And follow that arc to Arcturus, right here, which is the brightest star in Bootes, the shepherd or the kite. And then you can take that arc and follow that arc and then speed on to Spica, the brightest star in Virgo, right down here. Let's see. Also up there, we've got Corona Borealis, Hercules up here as well. And I'm rushing to get done before I take up too much of your time. But lastly, nope, that is it. All right. So anyway, don't forget the total solar eclipse on the 21st. More information coming. Don't forget the Perseid meteor shower. And don't forget that I hope you have very clear dark skies for the entire month of August.